Hello there and welcome to Fresh Death Comics. I'm your host, B. Luke, back with you with another episode. I'm excited. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about Moon Knight. We have the FlashPoint Beyond to talk about. Sandman Cometh is coming out this week to talk about. And we're going to finally talk about the Fantastic Four and this reckoning war that is happening. So stay tuned. Get ready. Sit back. Enjoy the ride. And let's get into it. First off, I want to say thank you to all the new listeners who have been listening in. Welcome Madrid and Sweden to the podcast. That was cool to see. You guys are listening all the way out there. You know, here I am in New York and people are listening all over the world. That's pretty cool to me. I like that. Welcome. Let's talk about Moon Knight first because I'm very excited to talk about Moon Knight. If you guys don't know who Moon Knight is, he's a character that came out in the 80s, I feel like there's just this really small base of us Moon Knight fans who exist, and everyone else is just like, he's okay, he's great, because he's a complicated character. Moon Knight is the avatar for the god Ganishnu from the Egyptian world, and Ganishnu makes people like a superhero, so he goes, you will become my Moon Knight, and he selects Stephen Grant. But the problem is Stephen Grant is not just Stephen Grant. He has multi-personalities inside of him. He has a disability that disordered the multi-personality disorder. So he's not just Stephen Grant. He's Mark Spector and Jake Lockley and God knows how many others you could really create. Like, he's the character from Split. And it's fantastic. And so I started reading Moon Knight later on in this series. I think my first Moon Knight experience was during the Shadow War when Daredevil had turned evil and joined the Hand and all that. That was the first time I'd seen Moon Knight, and I was like, whoa, this is cool. And then shortly after that, Bendis had taken him over, where he had the powers of Spider-Man and Wolverine and Captain America, because he had the shield. So I started reading that, and that just, it started so well and then kind of bombed, and then Jeff Lemire took it over, I want to say later on, and they put him in an insane asylum. That was cool. And then Max Bemis of the band Say Anything took over, and that was a fantastic run. So there's been like these, every 5 years or so, they make a Moon Knight series, and it comes out. I feel like I really got into Moon Knight because of Hans. He got me reading Moon Knight, kind of getting into his whole world, and I was really started getting involved. I don't know if I would have known who Moon Knight was if it wasn't for Hans. So I started reading his books, and I know I'm behind in the current series. I had so little expectations of this show. I went into it, I'm like, no one knows who's going to be, so all I'm expecting is this whole... I was expecting this show just to be a instrument to put Moon Knight out there and just be like, oh, look we have a character named Moon Knight, here's his identity, here he gets powers. I thought he would get powers at the end of the series, like this whole origin story of him just kind of dealing with the multi-personalities maybe, and we'd see the costume like at the very end. Long things have been going on. All the stuff in the comics could have happened by now. So if you haven't seen Moon Knight, I would say just skip for a couple of minutes, because we're gonna talk about this. All right. So Moon Knight, it is so cool. It's so interesting to realize what people with multi-personality disorders, like how frustrating it can be on other people. Like, you don't know, like we think about it from our perspective, like, oh, if I had multi-personalities, I wouldn't know what was going on trying to find out the world. But think about your loved ones. Think about like people who know you, and you go to talk to them and they're like, so, how are you? My ears are going, I don't know who you are. And you're like, dude, drop the accent. It sounds terrible. And you're like, what accent? This is the way I've always talked. And you're like, no, I know what. They incorporate all this and put it into the show of him dealing with his own psyche and him being like, I don't know what's going on, and other people looking at him going, yo, what is wrong with you? Like, this is not okay. And Oscar Isaac blows it out of the park. I have not seen such good acting from him in a long time. And maybe it's jaded because, like, he's always. Poe Dameron is just okay. Like, he's not the Luke Skywalker that I love and hold dear. He's just okay. And then he was in the X-Men movies. He played Apocalypse. And all he did was just look like a big giant Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers movies. So that threw me off. I couldn't take him seriously because all I expected the Power Rangers to come save the day. I'm like, the Power Rangers aren't here yet. It's not that dangerous. So, needless to say, Oscar Isaac has really been. I had no expectations from him. I expected him just to be okay. But he is blowing it out of the park. He's doing fantastic. There's this scene where he has to get. He's like, hey, take this from me. And all of a sudden, like the other, the Moon Knight entity's like, no, we can't get that. And he's like grabbing him and making him move. And it really does feel like someone else is controlling his body. And he's doing a fantastic job with that. That you believe that he has multi-personality disorder. And, sometimes it's real hard. Like, you're like, man, that accent, you're doing, I can tell you're breaking it up. It's not that good. Like, what movie was that I just saw? Like, King Richard. As great as Will Smith was in that role of playing Richard, of Richie Williams, there was times when his accent, I didn't know exactly where he was going with it. It seemed like he was in and out of it sometimes. Like, I could hear Will Smith and I could hear him, and I'm like, but this, you really do feel like he could be a twin. If they came out and said, like, yo, Oscar Isaac really wasn't playing a double scene, it was actually his twin brother. It was a whole Parent Trap situation. We didn't know about it until we found Star Wars. I would believe it because he's that good. So, Oscar Isaac, thank you. So, yeah, if you haven't seen Moon Knight, definitely jump on it. You don't need to know anything about the character. And that's what's great, is you can just jump in not knowing anything about Moon Knight, and they will fill you in, because I am just as lost as you will be reading this. I don't know where they are in the timeline. I don't know where it fits into the actual Marvel universe either, because I'm not seeing. No one's talked about the blip. No one's talked about, like in different series that we've watched, in Winter Soldier, that was whole based on the displacement of people because of the blip. This here, I have gotten nothing from it. And maybe I missed it, but even when he works in a museum, no one talks about the blip. No one mentions it. So I want to say this is before Endgame. That's my prediction, that this is taking place before that, because I'm not getting any indications of when this is supposed to take place in the timeline. Because I feel like people would be bringing up, there'd be, we love Tony statues all over the place. And I don't know, I just feel like there would be a lot more to it. All right, guys, let's talk about Flashpoint Beyond, because I am beyond excited for this book. It is going to be out this Wednesday, so if you are listening, I'm hoping to have this out. It's Sunday now, but it's going to be out. I definitely recommend picking up. It's going to be a money book, that's for sure, because they are changing everything you know about everything. Jeff Johns is taking control of the reins, and he's back. I don't know if he just needed a break for a little while. He's running out of steam. Maybe he realized making movies is a lot harder than comic books. But Jeff Johns is back, ladies and gentlemen, and he is bringing it with Flashpoint Beyond. It is a continuation of Flashpoint, which we talked about this back when it first came out. It was one of our first episodes we had done. We talked about Flashpoint and how excited we were for it and everything it was going to do. And I remember one of the guys on the show had said, like, you know, it's only going to be around for a short time, but, you know, they'll erase it and fix it. And
Why should this book matter?
and to me, I'm like, I didn't finish Doomsday Clock. I know I read almost till the end. It was just, I don't know. I just lost steam. That book just took too long to come out. And by the time it came out, I think I just gave up interest. I just didn't care. So I know so I probably should look back at that. But Flashpoint Beyond issue 0, it's coming out this Wednesday. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but let me just say that this book is going to change the name of DC Comics forever, because they're going with a brand new tagline. But I made a bet with somebody. I was like, listen, you cannot tell the Flashpoint Beyond story without Flash. And he was like, no, it's going to be about Batman's story and Batman's influence on it. But I was like, yeah, but Flashpoint is all about the Flash. And they answered it, and I loved it. And I was like, yes, I am fully in Flashpoint Beyond. This is the first 0 issue. It is fantastic. So the premise of the book, Thomas Wayne is waking up in a future. So he's an older Bruce Wayne now. He is kind of like that Dark Knight Returns kind of old. Like he's almost getting to that Batman Beyond kind of age. Like he's just old, and he wakes up to find out that Flashpoint still happened, that he didn't go back and save time, that everything still has happened. The war with Aquaman, like his Bruce never, it didn't change. So his mission now is to go save his son. That is the one mission, is to change history. And he is doing everything in his power to do it. So this is Batman completing a mission with 0 fucks. He is just going, murdering whoever he can. He punches people and just for answers. And he doesn't care. Like, this is a violent Batman. I know Thomas Wayne has shown up in the comics and he's been this villain, but the hero side, like, this is such a violent Batman he's writing, and it is phenomenal. But yeah, the last page is there. There's an epilogue at the end, and it is going to change everything. Here's where the spoiler alert will come in. So yeah, for the next 10 seconds, just turn down the volume. Because they're changing DC Comics to be called the Divine Continuum. And they have a whole map of where all the different timelines go. Yeah, so I definitely recommend, if you're going to pick it up this Wednesday, I would pick that up. Also coming out this Wednesday is this book called The Sandman Cometh. It's written by James Typhonian. So I debated about how I was going to go into this, because it's the Sandman universe. It's been out for a while. I've never read a Sandman book. I don't know anything about it. So my thought was, let me read everything about Sandman so I can talk about it. But I wonder how many of you actually know anything about Sandman. So I decided with it's a number 1 book. It's called Nightmare Country. It's from the Sandman universe. I was like, I'm going to pick it up not knowing anything and see if I can get through it. Is this a book that you can just pick up as a brand new reader and try it out? And the answer is kind of. One thing I will say about this book is it deals heavily with dreams. So if you don't like talking about dreams, there's people out there I know who are they don't like talking about dreams. They don't want to acknowledge dreams. They think dreams are stupid. This is not the book for you, because all it is talking about your dreams and how your nightmare, like what fuels your nightmares at night. And I don't know how I feel about it. I have so many nightmares and dreams that, to me, cannot be part of the same universe. My dreams are not interconnected. They are, if anything, my dreams are parallel universes of a world I live in today because of actions I make. So I know there's a whole continuum of dreams that it's our subconscious, shutting down and processing all the information we got That could be true, but the way my dreams work and how real they feel, I would like to give with the parallel universe theory that we are just jumping between worlds and going to parallel universes and experiencing them for a few hours and what a world that could have been. And you get to jump in and out. And sometimes you get stuck there. And that's where we get into the problem of that whole Mandela effect of like Looney Tunes. Which one's the real Looney Tune? Is it Looney Tunes with a couple of O's, or is it Looney Tunes with, is it spelled Tunes? Or Bernstein Bears or Bernstein Bears? I think, in my mind, that's where it comes from, is that if you were like, no, I grew up with this, maybe you're from a parallel Earth that was just shifted because of your dream world. You woke up in the wrong dream body and you switch places. If that made sense to you and you enjoyed that little rant, then you will love Nightmare Country. If you thought the last couple of minutes was the most idiotic conversation you've ever heard, you will hate Nightmare Country, because that's all it is talking about nightmares and what we perceive of them. And then there's a guy who eats nightmares, like they have eyes and they eat all the nightmares. So I don't know what's going on there. They didn't explain that. So I know that deals with the nightmare Sandman world. Maybe somebody can explain it better than me, but yeah, these teeth eat nightmares and they fuel it. And I don't know. It was. I don't think I want to stick around for another issue. So unless you are a fan of nightmares or a fan of the Sandman world, I would avoid this book. So yeah, if you want to save some money this week, I would definitely get FlashPoint Beyond over Sandman Cometh. That's just my own opinion. For our last story, let's talk about the Fantastic Four. The Reckoning War has begun. We are, I feel like, in the middle of it. I don't know how many issues there are to go, but it is everything I want and more out of a book. I don't know why this is not one of those big event books. They could have made tie-ins to this. The book has so much potential, and I'm really upset that nothing else is being used, because they show everything that's going on from the different perspective of the characters. So let me just fill you in, guys, on what's going on. So the Reckoning War, we've always heard it. We've been hearing this since I was in grade school. So for like the last 15 years, we've been hearing about this Reckoning War. I mean, it could have been going on longer. That's the first time I was hearing about it was in She-Hulk with Dan Slott, and now he's continuing it here. This is something he's been building up to, and no one really knew what it was. It was just like this big event. What could it be? And now we know. This is a story of the Watchers. This is a story that I have been waiting for since the beginning of my journey with Fantastic Four. When you first meet Uatu, the Watcher, and you're just like, man, what is your backstory? What is what the mystery of the Watchers? What is it? And we've gotten clues here and there, but it's always been the Fantastic Four. Like, we're always getting these adventures, and we've met Uatu and we've met Aaron, and it's been fantastic. It's been fantastic. It has been an incredible journey to go on this. And now we're learning what the Reckoning War is. The Reckoning War was the reason why the Watchers chose to be Watchers, because they were giving technology to all these groups of people, these planets, and saying, here you go, you can learn our technology. And this group, this planet decided to use these weapons as ways of conquering other planets and using it for evil, destructive purposes. And so they've just been on this rampage, destroying worlds. And so the Watchers hid them beyond this point. Like, there's this fiery wall is the way I'll describe it, but I don't understand how it works in the cosmos. Like, they can't cross it. You just see fire in the cosmos, but it's like a fire passage you cannot pass. And I don't understand really what it is, but I get it. I get that They've blocked it off so that this reckoning group doesn't destroy any more worlds. But now they've broken through and they are on the warpath. They have destroyed the moon. The moon is gone. And there's a great picture of Moon Knight. He's just frozen and he's just like, the moon's gone. My God's gone. He's dead. And Reed Richards is like, yo, get your shit together, motherfucker. We got to save the world. Be a vengeance of the moon. Be the vengeance of the Moon Knight. And that was amazing. But this latest issue, it is so good. We have the thing I've been waiting for the past 2 years is that Ben Grimm is going to murder Reed Richards. And it's the story we have been waiting for, and like what is going to bring him to the point. I didn't realize, and maybe I should have realized all along, what was going to be that turning point where he just goes ham and just starts clobbering Mr. Fantastic as hard as he can. And it's the one thing that makes sense is that Reed Richards has killed his whole entire family. There was an event that happened. They had to close the Zero Gate, and now his wife, his 2 adopted kids are dead. And he wasn't there to help him or stop it or do anything. And I can understand that feeling. And he's blaming Reed. Why did he let this happen? Why did he initiate this protocol to let him do this? And to see this come full circle is just, it's really rewarding. Is what it is. It's just it's Dan Slott at his finest in comics. And I don't think he gets enough credits where his runs on Spider-Man have been hit and miss. I've really enjoyed some of it I've hated. I think Superior Spider-Man is some of the best. At the time, I don't think I liked it as much as I do now, looking back. But this is some of the best Fantastic Four writing in a long, long time. But yeah, it's all about the Watchers and who they are, and we're learning all about the history of the Watchers. Apparently, because of Uatu's actions, he's actually doomed the Earth more than he has saved it, and it's really cool. So it came out a few weeks ago. It was called The Trial of the Watcher, and it talks about a parallel world where Uatu didn't do anything. If he would have just sat back and let Earth figure out things for their own, but he's been meddling with Earth's existence for longer than we realized. And so it's really neat to see that play out, and it really, the way they do the art in it, it just reminds you of reading like those old time Fantastic Four books that Kirby drew. And I really like that book, The Trial of the Watchers. But yeah, this Fantastic Four Reckoning War, I don't know what's going to happen with it. I know Devil's Reign is going on, and that the Fantastic Four are going to be no more after this is done. And I'm like, if this ties into the Reckoning War, like, what if there's no more Fantastic Four? Like, I can see this because Johnny's still on fire and Reed is refusing to help him, even though, like, he's a star now. It's outrageous. And then Doctor Doom, if you're a Doctor Doom fan, on that, there's a last panel on the page, like kind of an epilogue, and he opens up a box and it's like Pulp Fiction. He's like, yes, this is exactly what I needed. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what he looks at. It's something cool, and I know there's markings on it, but I don't know what it means. It just seems like he has a magic in a bucket, like a coffin wand thing. I just want to know what's in that. And all I can think of is Pulp Fiction, how it's just a light bulb when he opened it. That's all I'm thinking about is Dr. Doom's like, I got my light bulb. No one's going to know what this is. This is the first time in years I feel like it's been a book to talk about and not just like, oh yeah, they're going to space, they're doing this. It's a family adventure. Not that it's bad. None of the issues are bad. It's just regular, mediocre stories. I just, you're not missing anything if you don't read it. But, reading it is cool too. If you have the Marvel Unlimited app, give it a shot, definitely. But this Reckoning War. Since I would say since The Bride of Doom, he's been amping it up. Like The Bride of Doom was okay, like almost what I wanted, but the story just fell apart. But this here, this Reckoning War, it's like he got all Dan's like got all his pieces in order and finally thought it all out, and he's killing it. I love it. I love it. All right, guys, so that's gonna do it for us here at Fresh Death Comics. I'm your host, B. Luke. Let us know what you guys think of it. What, are you guys enjoying Moon Knight? Let me know, because I'm enjoying it. It's fantastic. So I cannot wait to see what they're going to do. And also, how are you watching Moon Knight? Are you watching it right when it comes out at the crack of dawn? Or are you watching a few days later? Like, when are you guys deciding when to watch it? Because I'm so scared of spoilers with Moon Knight. Because now that I'm finally caught up, like, I'm watching it as soon, like, if I get up in the morning on Wednesday and I'm like, I'll go pee and I'm going to watch Moon Knight right now. So I'm half asleep watching it, so I have to watch it a few times to get it. Like, what's the point of watching it a second time if the first time it was just because I was so groggy and I'm like, what's going on? This is cool. So I don't know why it's really so early in the morning, because it's just way too early. That's just me. I know you can watch it whenever you want, but man, those diehard spoiler people. And if you're in California, if it came out at midnight, that's not bad. But it's like 3 a.m. here. That's way too early for me. So, guys, that's going to do it for us here at Fresh Death Comics. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you on the flip side.